Hello, happy Wednesday, happy live. I apologize, I'm jumping around in locations. I am at one of my Airbnbs today, was just having some issues with a brown kind of coffee looking like filled hot tub. So just dealing with that. So I am in a bit of a pink explosion burst of decor. Anyways, I will go over the usual with you guys today, which is answer some of your guys' questions that have come in throughout the week. I will do real estate updates. I will do happy news. And your guys' questions and answers, I already said that already. Happy news, real estate updates. Hi, Justin, how are you? It's almost Valentine's Day, so anyways, I will dive into the first question. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Otherwise, I will just answer ones that have come in throughout the week. Okay, first question comes from Jason, and Jason is in Stroud. So Jason said, my parents have an old cottage that would probably fall over if you looked at it the wrong way. Would it be more beneficial for me to sell it as is or tear it down and have a blank slate? Thank you, Jason, for asking. Obviously, I don't know like how much of it is salvageable, if any. Obviously, said if you look at the wrong way, it'll probably fall down is not ideal. But something that I would keep in mind as opposed to tearing it down, one, you have cost to tear it down. And two, when people buy it, if it's vacant land, then they have 13% HST on it. Whereas if they have a tear down on it, they don't have that HST on it. So without knowing anything besides what you said about it, I would keep it, because if there was two lots side by side, one had nothing on it and one had a tear down home, the tear down home will cost them less because they don't have to pay that 13%. So I would personally do that, but thank you for asking. So again, if anybody's not watched this before, I do your guys' questions, some happy news, I do the real estate update, and then I jump back to the questions and the happy news. I apologize, the screen's jumping back and forth. I have no idea why. It's trying to focus on all the weird colors behind me. So another, not happy news, but something, I don't know what you guys would do if you saw somebody running down the highway in the middle of a snowstorm, but basically that happened, where was it in, I forget where it was. I wrote it somewhere, but I can't find it. But basically, you know, this car is going down the side and it's hitting the guardrail the whole way. And a car starts to, you know, video it on his phone. And then he sees somebody running, cutting across 4 lanes of traffic. It wasn't somewhere like in Canada. It was somewhere that normally doesn't get snow. And anyways, the guy was banging on the window, trying to open the door. It was locked. Anyways, the 57-year-old had lost consciousness and obviously had a seizure or a stroke or something like that. So I just obviously like his bravery. The woman is alive. She did not pass away. So that's good that he, you know, didn't think of anything except trying to help a woman and say, hey, this isn't normal and what have you. And I'm going to do something about it. So I like that. The next question comes from Brad, and Brad is in Innisfail. So Brad said, I ripped up my old carpet and found asbestos tiles underneath. Should I get them professionally removed? Thank you, Brad, for asking. I personally wouldn't, to be honest. So removal is super expensive. Last time I did it was about $17,000, but it could be $35,000. It could be the abatement, could be depending on how much there is, and obviously depending on the company. I personally would just cover it. So asbestos tiles are fine unless they're disturbed. So if you just put laminate tile right on top, like some click vinyl or something like that, you're not disturbing it. It's when you start to break it up that you're disturbing it, that then the asbestos starts to get released in the air, and that's when it, you know, the pieces and spores and stuff can click into your lungs, etc. So I would not get it remediated. I would literally just cover over it. So whether you do carpet again, I would just do vinyl or laminate. But thank you for asking. Always safe than sorry. What's the next thing we have here? So 6.5 hours north west of here, so Sault Ste. Marie, there was a young lady, and basically she's 18, but when she was 5, there was an earthquake in Haiti. I can't even speak properly, in Haiti, and she gave all of her piggy bank donations to it. Fast forward to now, she's 18. She was on her way to her grandpa's and was going to get him an ice cream, and called and said, you know, hey, grandpa, what kind do you want? And he said, you know, you just turned 18. When you're at the store, you know, grabbing ice cream, why don't you test your luck and buy a lottery ticket? And she bought a lottery ticket, and she actually won $48 million. It's the second highest lottery winning in Ontario ever. So hopefully she spends it well, being that she was giving when she was younger. Also, her dad is a financial analysis or something like that. Financial something. So hopefully she spends it well and gives back to those, and then obviously makes some smart decisions herself. Next question comes from Jackie and Mark, and they are in Barrie. So Jackie and Mark said, I'm planning on listing in the fall. What is the main thing people look for when buying a home right now? Thank you, Jackie and Mark, for asking. So usually I say the main things are the kitchens, the bathrooms, and the floors. You asked for one thing, I'd say the kitchen. Sorry, it's my dog over there. I would say the kitchens if I could only pick one, but obviously location has to do with it too. So if you're right next to a trailer park, your kitchen, I don't know what he's doing. Your kitchen is not going to be super important. So three main things besides location. You can't obviously take your home away from a trailer park, right? So besides location is going to be the price, the condition, the exposure. So the exposure is going to be up to your realtor. The condition is going to be up to you. Do you smoke inside? Do you have cat pee all over inside? Is it like hoarder madness, etc.? The price. So besides location, again, we can't change that, but so the condition's basically the only thing up to you. Again, I would do the kitchen if I could, and but again, if you're next to a mobile home park or something like that, a dump or something, I personally wouldn't spend the money on it just because people would probably buy elsewhere or pay you less. So I'd rather you just keep that money for the kitchen and put it towards your next house. If you want to send my team an email for specifics, we'd be happy to send you some information. That's no obligation, okay? Thank you for asking. I was a little all over the place with that answer, but hopefully that made sense to you. Next little piece of good news before our real estate update is soon to be new Guinness Book World Record holders, and they're actually brothers, and they are from England. They're two sets of twins, 22-year-olds and 24 and 26-year-olds. And basically they're going across the Atlantic. They started in the Canary Islands and they're going to Antigua. And they're taking 2-hour shifts, etc. The reason they did it was for 3 charities. So they raised over £83,000 before they left, giving one to a foster care facility, one to a hospital in, Uganda, and then one to housing in their community for people that have troubles getting into housing and homelessness, etc. So again, always like happy news and people trying to go above and beyond and not just doing the average everyday norm. So real estate stuff. So again, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to jump into it and talk about it, okay? So I'm not sure if you guys know, but basically over 1/3 of the condos in Toronto are owned by investors. And if we look at the condos in all of Ontario, not just Toronto, 41.9% of them are owned by investors, which is crazy. And actually in February of 2022, so obviously just before, official pandemic and schools closed, etc., that was only they were only 1/5. Okay, so they were only 1/5 and now they're 41.9%. So when all the interest rates were so low, all of the investors just started taking advantage of it and buying up condos. The reason they're buying up condos, and it was new builds, not actually resales, is because they're obviously cheaper to buy than freeholds, specifically in Toronto, right? You could get into one for 500 to 800,000 as opposed to a freehold home, okay? Other places that also have similar, a lot of investors, over 40%, is Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, BC, and Manitoba. So basically from 2016 on, all of those places have teetered in the high, 30 to 40% tile range of investors owning the condos there, okay? 36.2% to be exact own condos in BC, all of the condos. And in 2022, there were 74,485 investors to be exact that bought properties in Ontario. So that was 13.4%. And I apologize, I'm getting a call, so sorry that I'm saying no to you, person. That was actually the highest ratio of investors ever to buy in 1 year. So again, 13.4% of the properties that were purchased in 2022 were from investors. And again, that was the highest ever. Last year, there were 5.6% were purchased by foreign buyers. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but as of January 1st of this year, foreign buyers are not allowed to purchase for the next 2 years. So that 5.6% will be gone this year. And by the way, that was 7% in BC, obviously mostly coming from China on their end. Some economists worry, so there's a thing about the 1.5 million homes, right? So they're supposed to build 1.5 million homes in the next 10 years. But a lot of economists and so forth are worried that they're going to build the 1.5 million homes and all the investors are just going to buy them up. It's not going to help the first-time buyers, etc. So that is something. Another something that is coming up is landlords. landlords versus tenants. So let's just say, for example, the landlord's bills were $2,500. Now the landlord's bills are $5,600. They're saying to the tenants, hey, you know, I'm going to up your rent from $2,600 to $4,500, or I'm going to move in there myself. And unfortunately, if the person is just on a month-to-month lease, they can move in there themselves. Their child can move in, their spouse's child, their spouse's parent, their parent, etc. Now, if they don't actually move in and it was just pretend to get the lease up higher, then they can face up to $50,000 fine themselves. And then they can also face up to paying 12 months of the tenant's rent, as well as, let's just say the tenant moved somewhere that was $400 more a month. They have to pay that additional amount plus moving expenses, okay? Now, if they legit moved in there, then unfortunately for the tenant, etc., there's no fines for the landlord. But just as an FYI, that's something that's been going on a lot lately, is a lot of fighting back and forth between the landlords and the tenants about that. So in 2022, there were 822 cases that got brought forward to the landlord and tenant board, whereas the year before there was almost half, 439 cases of dismissing somebody, evicting somebody for the wrong reason. So obviously almost double. Now, if, for example, you were a tenant and you felt that you had to take that increase in rent and you were scared and whatever, even if, let's just say you took it December of 2022, for example, for a whole year, you can still go after the landlord. Say you don't get the nerve to go after them till September, you can still go after them. They'll have to give you all the amount extra that you paid back, as well as face that $50,000 fine. Okay? This is an FYI. That's something else that is going on. Okay, what else? So a lot of people have heard in the States in the past that people illegally buy somebody's home. So they might have a shady realtor, a shady lawyer, a shady appraiser, etc. And it has happened in Ontario quite a number of times lately. So one lady was 24. She had a condo. She bought it in 2018. Then in 2019, she moved back to China. And then she only started to realize the fall of last year, like, hey, I'm not being charged condo fees. I used to be charged condo fees. Now I'm not charged condo fees. She tried to reach out to some people, couldn't get anything. Ended up asking a couple of friends that still lived in Canada. They looked up her address and they saw that it had been sold. So she bought it for $800,000. Somebody listed it pretending they were her for $979,000, and then it sold for $970,000, which is crazy. Luckily for her, she has title insurance, so she can fight that and so forth. But the people that bought the condo, gave the money, signed all the proper paperwork, etc. So it's quite a lengthy thing to get, out of everything. And whether she'll actually get the condo back or not is not yet known, because obviously it has to go through lots of other avenues. So if, for example, you were going to buy title insurance, just as an FYI, it's basically $1 for every $1,000. So if you're buying a $500,000 home, it's going to be $500 for your insurance. If you're buying $1 million home, it's going to be $1,000, but obviously in this case, super worth it. And it covers other things as well. Let's just say you get bills later on from them, or maybe the garage is on the neighbor's property, etc. It does cover all of that as well in your title insurance, okay? So that is that. It is definitely more common with people that are not around. So she was obviously in China. The next thing I'm going to say to you was, so that was a 24-year-old, and then also happened to a 95-year-old man. So a 95-year-old man in Toronto went into a nursing home, and his family said, hey, instead of selling the house, let's rent it out and use, because he didn't have a mortgage, let's use that rental money every month to pay his, long care facility fees, etc. So the people moved in. They were not the real people. They had fake IDs and all that kind of thing. And within 2 weeks, they were impersonating, not them specifically, but somebody else was impersonating the 95-year-old and employing, or not employing, but having realtors come over to the home to say, hey, this is what I think it's worth, etc. They signed with somebody, again, not being the true fellow himself. And they listed for 1.29, sold for 1.9. But luckily, the family was around. So remember I said most people are out of the country or not around. So luckily, the family was around. A neighbor told them, etc. And they were able to, squash it before the new buyers took possession, put the money in the other person's account, etc. Just as a side note, I know I'm talking fast, but when they put it in the other person's account, it's usually switched over to cryptocurrency or gold or an offshore's account within 2-3 days max. And then it's really hard to recover. And obviously, like I said, because the buyers significantly bought it, like truthfully bought it, signed a legal binding document, it's a fine line between like who did the wrong. Obviously, the people that are long gone did the wrong, but the people that own it didn't mean to sell it, like, you know, so the other people, hey, we actually gave you 1.9 million or whatever, so it's still our house. So they're trying to figure out that. It does, again, happen in the States a lot more than here, but recently it has been happening here a lot, and by some of the same names, to be honest. They're getting caught with the same names, not even getting different ID. So that is that. So before the pandemic, the average person, if they were moving, they would up their mortgage $140,000. So let's just say they moved from a $500,000 home, obviously, to a $640,000 home, etc. Then during the pandemic, the highest peak or the highest average that people were going up in their mortgage was $430,000. So obviously that's a significant jump to go from $600,000 to over $1 million with your mortgage price, but that was what was happening. So just as an FYI, now also as an FYI, more than 135% people are leaving the GTA than normal than the same time last year. So a lot of people are leaving the city, high purchase prices, etc., as well as they're working from home, so they don't need to be there anymore, etc. Obviously, the cost to live and so forth is more there. So normally, as you guys are aware, Toronto and Vancouver usually are the hottest of hot markets, but actually there has been places selling for faster, not more money, but faster than Toronto and Vancouver recently. And so in Ontario, the highest or fastest place, I should say, selling is Waterloo, and second is Aurora, and then tied for third was Whitby and London. So they were selling faster than Toronto, so their average days on market. And then the places that were selling the slowest, slower than Toronto, is Vaughan, and what was the other one? Milton, okay? So that's that. Another change in real estate is the commercial pricing. So because so many people are working from home, you know, the hybrid program, etc., these commercial properties are saying, hey, I don't need this 40,000 square foot building to have all these people have their desks, etc., when many of them are working from home. So a lot of them are letting their leases go, or they're selling the buildings, etc. As more of these commercial properties come up, then obviously it's driving the prices down because, you know, there's more competition, etc. So they're thinking there's still going to be about 4 to 6% more vacancy in commercial properties in the next year to come. But just as an FYI, that's that. IBM, for example, said now that more than 80% of their workforce works from home on at least a hybrid program, if not full home program. And then there was a company, or is a company, I should say, in Vancouver, and they have 3,000 members or staff, etc. And they put in a 5,000 square foot gym at their property just to try and get people to come back to work, saying you can go to the gym if you're sick of working out in your basement, kind of thing. So that was that. So what else was I going to talk about? Oh yeah. So oftentimes people send me listings. So somebody sent me a listing the other day and it seemed pretty normal. It was a bungalow, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, $875. I was clicking through the pictures. I'm like, yeah, okay, what's the big deal about this? And then at the end, the last sentence was, will only sell to family of Ukrainian descent, which is not obviously right to human rights, etc., to say who you're going to sell it to. So this community was started in the 40s by somebody from Ukraine. They subdivided the land into 100 different parcels, and I guess they're pretty strict there. But obviously that's not right. So some people are trying to fight that, saying you can't do that. You can't say who can live here, who can't live here. And some people have been trying to buy it under incorporated numbers, so they don't know who's buying it. But then the sellers are asking for the articles of incorporation to see who owns it, to see if their name looks Ukrainian, etc. So anyways, that's just some randomness stuff for you guys. So what else? So as you know, last year there were average sales prices over $1 million throughout Ontario, not just in Toronto. But now there's actually really cute, there was 3 or 4 articles of cute little neighborhoods, trendy neighborhoods, etc., where you can get into for less than $500,000. So they're not really far. They're not in Timbuktu, etc. Some of them are Collingwood, some of them are Barrie, some of them are Oshawa, etc. So again, super cute places under $500,000 now. You don't have to spend over $1 million like back last year in March or April. So that's obviously great for people, and they're not condos. So obviously you're like, oh wow, I got a condo, but I have to spend an extra $1,100 a month in a condo fee or something like that. They are freeholds, okay? Last month there were 3,475 people that declared bankruptcy, which is 23% higher than last year, which is obviously not good. However, it is not all doom and gloom and so forth. So there are tons of people that are taking advantage because remember, there's no foreign buyers buying for the next 2 years. So they're like, hey, I'm not going to have all those multiple offers. I'm not going to have all those people with those deep pockets, etc. I can put down 5,000 or 10,000 as opposed to them putting down 200,000, etc. And my dog is just like checking out everything at this Airbnb in the background. So they're taking advantage of that and obviously lower purchase prices, etc. So a lot of people really are taking advantage of things. Again, being nice to not be against the people with all the deep pockets, not be against the foreign buyers, and to have the cheaper purchase prices when houses were 800 and they might be able to get them, for example, for 575 or 625 now. So people are taking advantage of that. Oh yeah, and some people are saying, hey, instead of, you know, selling my house if I can't afford the payments, etc., they're upping their mortgage. So maybe they might be at like a 22-year mortgage right now. They're moving it back to 25 or even 30 or 35. And they say, hey, I can't afford the higher payments every month, but I can, you know, just put it longer. And then obviously once the interest rates go down, then I can adjust it again and, you know, put some more lump sums, etc. So that is that. Again, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask and I'll just answer them or I will blab away. Just before I get back into the next question, we do have the guaranteed sales program at our brokerage. So if we list your home, we do guarantee it's sold or we'll buy it for cash. So that's always great because you're not then buying another home and worried that you're going to pay 2 mortgages. So that is good. Also, if you buy a home off of us and it goes down in value in the next year, we will sell it for free or buy it back. And if you're not happy with your home, so let's just say your neighbor's, you know, awful or something like that, we will also sell it for free or buy it back as well. So just lots of guarantees as well as our 1%. So feel free to call our office 705-726-7000 about any of them. Again, 705-726-7000. Next question comes from Jason, and Jason is in Stroud. Jason said, no, I did that one already. That's not the right question. I'll do a question from Tammy. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm not, again, I wasn't supposed to be at this Airbnb, so I don't have all my stuff. So it's kind of like pulling through emails to try and find your guys' questions. So Tammy from Collingwood said, with all the mortgage rates and interest going up, I'm afraid my kids will never be able to buy. Do you think they should just wait it out or should I buy something now for them? Thank you, Tammy, for asking. I don't obviously know how old your kids are, so I don't know if they're 10 and you're thinking of waiting until they're 18, etc. to buy, or if they're 23 right now. I don't know how old they are. And I also don't know what kind of equity you have in your home. So I don't know if, for example, you're having to get a private, you know, mortgage to get this home, you know, home for one of your kids, etc. Or do you have no mortgage on your home and you could pull out $600,000 and say you have 3 kids and you give them each $200,000 to go towards mortgages. I don't know your full, you know, financial picture, etc., which I don't need to know, but you could obviously talk to a mortgage broker and see that. But if you can, for example, get the funds and, you know, like I said, you have that equity or something and you could do that, absolutely, that would be great, even if they are 10, just because obviously the purchase prices will be so much higher by the time they get to be 18. So if you could, I would absolutely do that. I'm sure they would be very thankful for it. They won't know the value of it now, but they will know it when their friends can't buy and they already have a home. So thank you for asking. Hi, Margie. How are you? Hope you're well. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Chris. Hi, Jackie. Okay, next happy news is... before I said there was the girl that won the lottery and she won it by chance, but there was actually a fellow, and he was 58, and he won it from a company called Omaze. So Omaze is a company and they only let people enter this lottery, so to speak, but they have to be doing good in the world. So this fellow's worked for 27 years with people with disabilities and so forth, always trying to help in all different avenues, etc. He worked for a charity. So he ended up entering into this charity as well, or foundation. And he won a £2.5 million home in Scotland and $100,000 cash, which obviously I just like because it wasn't just fluky. It was because he was doing something good and they're promoting people to do nice things for others and not just be lazy and buy a lottery ticket thinking about themselves. So I liked that. Next question comes from Anastasia, and Anastasia's in Richmond Hill. Okay, Anastasia said, if I buy a house and sell it in 3 months, is there any way to avoid capital gains? Thank you, Anastasia, for asking. So to be honest, capital gains is not just a year. Everybody thinks it's a year. It's not just a year. You could own a home for 3.5 years. They could charge you capital gains. You could only own a home for 1 month and they don't charge you capital gains. It's if they think you did it for the purchase to make, or not the purchase, the purpose to make money. So if, for example, you're constantly buying homes, selling homes, constantly buying, selling, buying, selling, you're kind of gonna have a pylon or a target on your head because they are gonna charge you capital gains because they know you're doing it. So even if you wait 14 months, 16 months, etc., if they think that you're doing it for the purpose of gain, they're gonna be there to get their money. If, for example, you don't do it very often, your job is not a contractor, an interior designer, a realtor, etc., you're not going to be as much on their radar list, so they'll probably not notice it. Maybe you broke up with a spouse, you bought this house, you guys got back together, you moved back in with them, but again, if you're doing it all the time, they're going to notice. But if you're only doing it once every 7 years, they're not going to notice, and you should be able to get away with less than a year. Okay? Thank you for asking. Next thing is that young millennials are actually doing well with money, which is nice because everybody always likes to poo-poo on the younger people. So the younger generations of the millennials, let me just find the right thing here. That's not the right thing. These are a mess disaster without my booklet. But basically the younger, I'll find them, 18 to 24-year-olds are saving almost double the amount of the of the next generation older than them, which is crazy because normally, again, younger is more crazy spending and they're not thinking about money yet. So 12% of them more said than the older said that they're more likely to take on a second job or to do overtime. And 78% of them this year said that they are looking at ways to save money, whereas only 49% of the older generation said they're looking at a way to save money. So they are looking for sure to save money. One way they said was showering at the gym. Another way they said was batch cooking so they don't go out for dinners as much. The number one New Year's resolution for them was to save money. Normally I feel like it's to lose weight or something like that, but it was to save money. And in the same survey, 35 to 44-year-olds were most likely to bring a lunch to work or go thrift shopping. So it's not like happy news, but at least it's, not necessarily somebody dying. It's people are saving money and trying to get ahead in life. Next question is, see why my questions are all over the place as well. Let's see if I missed one here. We did asbestos. Oh, I found it. It's Craig from Alliston. Okay. Craig from Alliston said, my two neighbors' homes recently sold, one for $875 and the other for $792. They are very similar models and layouts. How can this make any sense? Thank you, Craig, for asking. I don't know how far apart they were. So you said that they both recently sold, but to you, again, I don't know. Recently, one might have been in April and one might have been in December, which was a very, very different market. The interest rates went up 7 times last year, so it definitely affected our market. Also, there's different real estate boards in Ontario. So one could have been listed on the local real estate board. It might have had 1,500 agents on it, 200 agents on it, etc. Sorry, 2,000, I should say. And the other one might have listed on the Toronto board or something and had over 86,000 agents looking at it. So that could be something. One could be advertising it more, etc. Also, maybe one of them had smells. Maybe one of them had a grow up in it. Maybe one of them, somebody had passed away in it or was murdered or etc. So we don't know the stigmas to it, as well as their motivation. Maybe they were going to lose at power of sale, so they just took the very first thing that came on. It's really hard to say without, knowing the seller situations, etc. But I'm sure there was something behind it. Again, if it wasn't timing of, April to the fall and around Christmas time, it was probably something to do with the actual home or the motivation of the sellers. So thank you for asking. And this is also a randomness, but today seems to be random. So there was a strange scenario, but a happy ending outside of Georgia. There were two fellows that worked on basically the line where all the trains go, and they saw a raccoon, and he was like moving his front paws or whatever you want to call it, but not moving the back. And they knew the train schedule, and they knew a train was coming not too long. And they kind of started to go over to the raccoon thinking it would run away. That raccoon didn't run away, and they realized it was kind of stuck there. And I don't know if it's, if you see and you lick a pole when you're a kid and you get your tongue stuck. I don't really know what happened. But they're thinking maybe this raccoon peed and it was so cold, its fur stuck to the rail track or something like that. Anyways, they had hot water in one of their trucks and they poured it carefully and slowly. Took them 5 or 6 minutes to get the raccoon free, and they got him free and he went on his way before the train came. Super random story, but again, I like happy news instead of sad news. Again, I hope you guys are all well. If you ever have any questions, feel free to ask. Sorry for my randomness, but that is what I am like, and even my background changes randomly. I seem to be everywhere each and every week that I pop on here. Have a super evening, and any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Stay kind to one another. Have a super night, and thanks for popping in.